Yes, hi Kamohelo. You're on mute.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
solved it. Yes.
Sorry about the glitch. We are back on.
Are
So,
you sharing your screen now? Because I cannot see you.
you can't see me,
Yes, it's just a dark screen.
is it? My video is on. Okay, let me try again.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see me?
I saw a picture in artwork.
But you can't see me.
Yes, I cannot see you now.
Okay, I don't know what's happening because I'm clearly visible from this side. Let me just go to sharing my screen. Maybe it will come back on.
Okay.
All right, perfect. Yes, can you see my screen?
Yeah. Yes, I can see it. And I can see you. I can see you too.
Okay, perfect. So,
Yes.
who did this one?
It was me.
It was you're the one who did the drawing.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. There seems to be a bit of a difference between your style and Mokansa's style. Who did this? The one on the left here.
Oh, like to tell you, Mukanse was like doing the artworks, what do you call it?
Like this one is Mokansa here.
No, it was me. I was doing ink overs, like I was inking
Or
over
you were
the
inking
drawing.
over the sketches that were done by
Yeah,
Mokansa.
yes, the initial sketches that he did.
Okay. So then this one, you're the one who did it.
Yes, yes.
Were you
But
inking?
I'll send you the final one. No, it was just a concept that I come up with for a final page. So I
Okay.
was like still thinking of how it's going to be.
Okay.
Yes.
No, that's fine. So the reason why I was asking is because Mokanse's, so these are the sketches that Mokanse did, the blue, greenish ones, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because I could tell that there's a bit of a difference between your style and Mokanse's style. So there's something which you're going to go through, which is called line weight. Because I see that, of course, even though these are preliminary work, but there's so many darker values. The shading is really dark. The the line art is heavy as well. It's a bit dark and heavy. So as compared to, you see how Mokansa's line work is really thin. Mokansa's line work is similar to Bad Art's line work. It's extremely thin. Bad Art is heavy on the outside, and then everything that happens within the body is thin. So there is a way to use line weight where you make it thinner if the person is on the sides of the person which are far from the reader. So you make it really thinner. That's how other people do it, all around the world. But you can develop your own style and make it exciting still. And also you can use the lines to show movement and motion and stuff like that. So,
Yes.
but for this session here, my task is to help you improve on the drawings by giving recommendations. So, and first of all, it would be really, really nice if we could bend some of the characters that we have here. If we could bend them, it'd be really, really nice. Like instead of having them be rigid. You remember last time how we were talking about characters being rigid and stiff?
Yes, yes.
Yes, so we need to work on that. Uh, we need to, I don't want to worry too much about shading, but I'd say we need to do visible shading. So now when it comes to the way you shade it, when you display lighting on a person, on a person's clothing, you don't normally use a lot of white. It shouldn't be further away from the skin unless if light is reflecting too much on that person. But it's never a situation where it feels like, somebody's being lit by a torch. I don't know if you get it.
Yes, I get it.
Yes. There's something called a rim light. So a rim light, if I'm not mistaken of the term, is where the light reflects at the back of the character and it shows on the edges. See, on the edges, it's called a rim light. But it's supposed to work with the direction of the light, like where is the light coming from? So if the light is coming from this side, you see my cursor move, right?
Mm. Yes.
Then we'll have the rim light here. You can have it all across the body, but you can't have it this side because the light is not coming across the side. This side is shadow. There's no rim. I hope that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, it
Yes.
does make sense.
Yes. So, and then when you're doing the Mandela coloring, you don't have to make him look like he was lit by a torch or there was a car with its headlight on him, and then you have the lighting be like this. You need to work on your values and understand how to put shadow and how to put light and how you dim the light, how you increase the shadow or reduce it. Now, this side, I take it this was more like rim light. This what is called, we talked about this last time, where the light bounces off a surface close to the character. So if maybe there was a wall here and the light was coming from this side going there, some of the light will bounce off the wall and hit the character, but it can be as strong as from this side. So we also need to move away from, this is a tip which will help you greatly. If you are making comic books with cell shading is where you use colors that are close to the character for shadows and for lighting instead of using dark colors like this. There are so many types of shading. Other people use cell shading, other people use black for shading. But I know when I first started out, the biggest advice that I got from a stranger online, somebody I didn't know, I had done a really incredible artwork, which I thought was incredible. And somebody just said, never use black for color or for shading. And then they laughed, but it was nice. Like it was a nice tip that they were giving me. So that tip really helped my coloring grow. So I want you to also think about it. But if you're going to be coloring the whole comic book, then you might have to apply it if time allows for everything else that you don't use. Because I see a lot of like these drawings are bare, they're not, the darker shadows are not black like here. You see here, the shading under the chin is really black. Here it's really black. But I'd advise you not to use black at all for shading. So you use a color which is close to the skin color and then you make it darker. So the best way to shade is to use an extra layer and then you set it to multiply. You set it to multiply and then you reduce opacity. And that's how you get your shadows. Shadows are on one layer alone. Same as lighting, it makes it easier to change if you want to change them. I hope that makes sense, sir.
Yes, it makes sense.
Yes, sir. So that's
Okay.
let me do a little demonstration so that you can see what I mean. I don't know, is this how you shade? How do you normally shade?
Um, I normally use the first one, that you suggested. I normally take the closest color.
Okay,
I usually take the closest one.
perfect.
For lights, it has to be the closest one, but it has to be lighter than the first one if
Okay.
it was a skin. And for dark tones or tints,
For dark tones,
oh, sorry, I had a problem. I had a problem.
or somebody
People
was
getting
calling
me.
you,
Yes, yes.
they're saying food is
For
ready.
dark, it's the same thing for dark. For Hey, they keep coming in here. They're looking for someone.
They're calling you saying food is ready.
Nah, no.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, you were still telling me.
I normally use like the closest color because I was struggling with. Oh, it was only on this project because I didn't know how Mukanse was like using his colors, how he
Okay.
was applying his colors. So I ended up like doing it the anime style, the
Okay.
manga style. Yes. So, but I usually do it the long, the longest processed way
So
with
so you couldn't match, are you saying you couldn't match Mokansa's colors?
yes, the way he applies colors. I'm still learning
Okay.
the whole process. Yes, I'm still learning the whole process with
All right.
his stuff.
Okay, that's interesting. I'll show you uh how to copy colors. There's something called a, what is it called? The color picker, something like that. You can just
Yes.
pick colors. Uh, let me show you an example. I'm gonna make a screenshot of this. So I made a screenshot. I'll go to Photoshop. You use Photoshop, right?
Yes, I use Photoshop.
Okay. You said you used Photoshop last time. Let me check if I can use Photoshop. I need to pay for it, so let me check. All right, let me just use this for now. Um,
It's Clip Studio, right?
yes. I
Yes.
haven't shared my screen. Can you see me?
Yes, I still see you.
Okay, perfect. Perfect, sir. I'll show you my Photoshop. Mm, tu- 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 tu. Yes. Okay. Perfect. I'm on Photoshop. Let me just share and see how it looks on Photoshop. Yes. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
All right. So I'm on a new layer there, and I have this. I'm gonna do this. I have a brush here. It's on. Let me change. All right. You see, this is how to pick color. I click on this. You see where my cursor is, right? I click on
Yes.
the displayed color there, and then I go on this thing, on the drawing, on the artwork. I click there, and just like that, I've changed the color. So when you're working on, I just made a new layer so that we can have this as our base layer. When you're working on copying color, you come here to the corner and then you take the picker. Yeah, it's called color picker. You go on Morganza's color like that, you see? And
Yes.
you have the color. That's how you color Madiba. You don't have to create your own color from scratch. Then you could actually create a color closer to this one to match the skin tone. So there
Yes,
we
I
go.
understand.
Yes, and then you will add another layer, and this is for the shadows. For the shadows, and then we can have a different color altogether, or we set this layer from normal to multiply. You see, from normal to multiply. Opacity is 100%. And now it's the same color, right? But we are going for,
Yes.
we're shading it. This is called cell shading. And then we just reduce the opacity so that it makes sense and it looks like a shadow. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense.
Yes, let me just
Mm.
make this into a circle like this. And then I'll take this one and right click and then create clipping mask. I create a clipping mask. I go back to this layer and then as a clipping mask, you see how that works. It only works within,
The
see?
shape.
Yes, works within the
Oh.
shape. Makes everything easy. And then
Oh,
we can,
so can you go back again to the clipping mask?
okay, you right
Yeah.
click on the layer and then see,
Yeah.
I'm releasing it. Now it's all over the place. It's all over the place. And then
Yeah.
you right click on the layer and you look for create clipping mask. And then there it is. It's only for the layer that you chose. And then with Photoshop,
Okay.
there you go. I can create another one and clip it to the bottom layer, to the bottom shape. And then I will add my lighting. So I can click on color pick and go back to our white. Let's see how it looks. I go back to our white and then I do something like this to say there's a lot of light coming from this way. And then I set it to overlay. I set it to overlay and then I reduce opacity. And then it seems like, okay, the light was hitting from this direction. You get it, makes sense, right?
Yes, it makes sense.
Yes, and then,
And it's the same, it's almost like the same, the original color.
yes, but
Yeah.
because that's where the light is hitting, it looks a bit different like that.
Orange.
You see, it's
Yes.
close to this color.
Lighter.
You see, it's close to this
Yes,
color
it's
because that's where the light was hitting from. And now you can always mix the colors together, something like this with color mixer. What is it called? Let's see, it's called mixer brush tool. So you work with the mixer brush tool, and you can always go back to the layer again if you're not happy with how it looks, and continue reducing the opacity, and you can go back on the layer and make it smooth. You see how that works? If you want to create your rim light again, you create another clipping mask. You take your brush tool, and it's on white. Remember, you set the mode to normal. It's now normal, and just like that, you create your rim light. So if you want to go darker, you can come here, create a new layer, go back to the original color, color pick again, the original color, there it is. And then you make it dark. Oh, sorry. It's normal. Okay, it's fine. It's normal. You make it darker like that. And you multiply. You see now that it's darker. So instead of using black, you can always use a darker color of the original like this. Or you could use purple. Some people use purple. Sorry about that. For dark colors, let's use this purple and see how it looks. You see how it's even darker.
Yeah.
You see how it's even darker, and then you can work on the shape. So the whole idea was to show you how to use cell shading, how to pick the right colors. And if you want to make a correction, you don't have to work on these other layers. You just go to the original layer and make that correction. I hope that makes sense. So now you can think of this funny looking egg thing as the character. Like this is how you make it work. Make sense? We can go back to Studio Paint and create the same thing. I love Clip Studio Paint. We are in Clip Studio Paint. You create a layer like this. Let's take this color, lock it, can even, oh, sorry, lock it, and easily do this. New layer. Multiply, work on opacity. See, just like that, we're creating shadow, and then we go for light, overlay. Remember, light is overlay, reduce opacity, and say the light is coming from this side, and then you can blend it. Same as we're using the color mixer. The mixer tool, come back to this one again and blend it. And then you can make it darker. Multiply by using purple. You see? Just like that. And then if you go for rim light, let me do a background so that our rim light will be visible. Okay, let me just do it on purple. Like this. And then I go back to creating rim light. I can use white or I can use a bit of yellow like you guys did and just do that and say that's our bouncing light. Yeah, makes sense, right? So you can do that with the rim light, or let's see how it looks if we try to blend it. Normally, some people don't blend rim light. They want it to be thick and original. Yeah, see? As easy as that. It could be better, the shape could be better with more, making it more oval and stuff and thinking about the direction of the light. But if this thing was on a floor like this, if this was on a floor like this one here, like this, then we could add some bouncing light and say we have a bit of bouncing light. A bit of a bouncing light here. Like that. Yeah, makes sense, right? Yeah, perfect. Let me stop sharing so that we can see each other. Yes, sir. Any questions?
No, I have more clarity now.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, like it was like tricky at first, but now I do understand
Okay.
because I never these things that you mentioned today, I never used them before.
Okay.
Yeah,
Your workflow
the
is about
clip,
to get easier. Sorry?
the clipping masks, and yeah, so all like everything is like strangers to me. Color mixer, like yeah,
Yeah.
everything was it's new.
You don't have to worry about, reinventing the wheel. Uh, Everything is there. You just need to learn how to use it. I remember years back, about maybe 7 years back, maybe 7 years back, when I was working on a company's logo, and I had to look for a color which was close to the original color because I didn't know that I could actually pick the color. So that very company uses the colors that I, put together now, mimicking the original colors. So it doesn't use the original colors. So you can
So they
imagine
changed the colors.
I have changed
Mm.
the colors. So now that you know, it should get so much easier for you to color Madiba, for you to color, the other person, all the other people in the story. You don't have to worry about how am I going to get the colors for the two white guys on the cover page going down. So now for every other white person in the story, you just pick the same original colors that Morganza came up with. I'm sorry if it looks like I'm looking down when I'm talking to you. So I have two screens
No,
in front of me.
I'm learning here. I'm learning.
And no,
So
I mean I have two screens that I'm working with. I have the one which is doing the recording, and then I have the one that I'm drawing on. So I'm looking at the one that I'm drawing on. That's why it seems like I'm looking down.
oh
Yeah.
yes.
But I want us to do one more thing again, which is to learn to bend the body so that every time when you're doing your artwork, you know how to how to bend form. So this is something that we're going to learn down the line, maybe in the next coming weeks. But I'll just keep fast forward to it now so that you could get an idea of how to do this book that you guys need to launch very soon. And Victor was telling me that you're working on your own stories as well, which could really help you make the stories more exciting. So this is going to be the last demonstration, and then we can have a chat about how to build stories and stuff like that.
Yes.
Perfect, sir. All right, let me put everything in a folder, and then I can just disable the folder without having to delete this. So you always need to know, are you seeing my screen or you're seeing me?
I'm seeing you, not the
Okay,
screen.
my mistake. Let me share. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
You always have to have a color that you use. This is the color that I use. I don't use black for inking or for anything. This is the color that I use. So normally you would, this is going to be like a fast tracking thing. So normally you have, remember we talked about shape, form,
And detail.
yes, and detail last week, like this. So now I want us to bend the forms, bend forms. When you are working on a body, the mistake that a lot of us make is that you would have a body that looks something like this. That looks something like this. It's all boxy and ready for war, like this, right? In most cases, look at the bodies that we have. They're like this. This would be the pants area. These are the bodies that we have, something like this. And then here we have one big shield. Here we have the hand there and the spear. This is how our bodies are, isn't it?
That's how it is.
Yes. But we need to move away from doing bodies like this. We should be able to do bodies which are more exciting and dynamic. Remember, we talked about dynamic forms last time. So we should be able to have, we need to know how to do a body, so, and how to measure things. So normally you could have 9 heads all sticking together to make a complete body. I don't know if you know about this. Do you know about this?
Yeah, I know about it. But for me, it was 9 lines, actually. Not.
Nine lines.
Yes.
Yes, that's fine. But it's actually 9
But it's the
heads.
same thing. Yes.
Yes, you
Okay.
measure by the size of the head and say that's 9 heads. So now when you do a dynamic body, we'll get to bending forms later on, but you would have, instead of having a square, remember this is the form of the chest or the upper torso. This is the form, right? This is how the form would look like. Let's do this and say this is a square. This is a square. This is how it looked like to make the chest area. And then we have something like this to make the abdomen. And then we have something like this to make the pelvis area. And then we have this to make the thigh, something like this. And then we have this, and then the feet like this. This is mostly how our work has been, mostly how our work has been. This is just me translating what we have there into a more readable thing. And then we have our head here. This is a person, right? This is a figure that we can work with and say this is how we make our bodies. And this is why most of them look rigid. But we are supposed to bend. Let's have the head there. And then here we bend the form of the chest area into something like this. So this is how you make it more dynamic and interesting. And you have the pelvis area there in a pivoting position. And then you have this pelvis area. Yeah, so the abdomen there is like that. Then you have it like this. You can turn it into like an underwear of sorts. And then here you would have, there's something called opposing curves. You would have this be something like this if you are going for the rigid look. And then here, opposing the direction of the top portion. And then you have your feet be something like that. Be something like that. So, and then here you do this with the arms. Let's do this with the arms. This is like a fast forwarding lesson into what we will talk about going forward. And then this opposing curves or flow, some people call it flow, so many things. Some people call it opposing curves. So this is the structure of the body, and then later on you put, this is the neck is going to be there as well. So this is how you do that. You bend the forms so that instead of having something that looks like, let's say a body is like this, just a quick sketch. See, I'm not afraid to mess up, right? You remember what we talked about? Instead of having something that looks like this.
I'm trying to open my Clip Studio, the one
Okay.
that I've never practiced anything on. Do
Okay.
you like go to paint or yeah? Which
You want me to
option
go
do
back?
you? No,
So,
no, 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 don't go back. I've just opened it, so I'm trying to,
you're trying to see how it works.
yes, just to
Okay.
go to a page so I can
All right, just
try
give me a
and
moment.
yeah,
Give me a
okay.
moment and I will sort you out, sir. So I'm saying instead of having our bodies that look like this all the time, rigid like this, we need to bend the shapes. We need to bend the shapes. So you could have a head like this. So just give me a moment. I'll take you where you're asking to go, sir. Right, and
Okay.
then you have a neck like this, and then you have a chest area. that looks something like this. See how I'm making this sharper? I'm making everything sharp. Just so that it can be more dynamic. I'm just trying to really rush through this thing. And then you bend the shapes. You bend the shapes like this. So there's something called the center of gravity. The center of gravity. So the center of gravity is to ensure that your character doesn't seem like they're falling. And you do that by making sure that the head is in the right position. All the time, the head is in the right position. You see how the drawing is now starting to take shape? Do you see the drawing taking shape, sir?
Yeah, yes. It's amazing.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, so this is how you do. And then instead of making the chest straight, so you make it bend inwards and give it life like this. And then like that. So now when you're shading all the time, you make the lines that are on the forefront to be uh, more thicker than the ones that go behind them. Like because this is touching the body, you'd make it thicker than the one behind it, like that. And then you could add your ears here. Yeah, see? That's how you make the drawing more exciting. That's how you make, that's how you make the pose more exciting. Even though this is just a rough sketch, obviously we could work on it and improve it. Like that. Oops, sorry. Yes, sir. So this is how you do. You just go to new. You open your Clip Studio Paint.
Okay, I'm going to paint.
And then you go to new worksheet, new here. You see where my cursor is? Do you see it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you
Yes,
click on
thank
that
you.
and then you follow the instruction. Make sure that click on it. Your resolution is 600. That's it. That's all you need to change. All right, sir.
Resolution 600.
Yeah,
Yes. I
600 dp.
think, yeah, I think I'm falling in love with this one, with Clip Studio. The way like you do everything, it's as if you're doing it using a normal pencil.
Yeah.
As
Is
if you're
it
drawing on paper.
the
Mm,
default pencil is really good. You don't need to go
mm,
and download brushes. So the default
mm.
brushes are perfect. But with Photoshop, you need to download those brushes or buy them, and then you can have the same experience. Whereas with Clip Studio Paint, they come with the software.
Oh, you just don't buy anything,
No, you don't need to
any
buy it.
brushes.
But I think in the later programs, maybe you might have to buy it in the later programs.
Mm.
But yes, we have like short amount of time left for this one. But because Vusi was telling me that you're working on your own stories, I thought maybe I could share with you just a few things, how to make a really interesting story. So, are you taking notes?
Yeah, I'm taking notes. I'm
Okay.
taking notes. Yes.
So you make an interesting story by, uh, sorry. Yeah, you make an interesting story by building the world around your story. Like so when you're doing world building, you need to think of what's the time that my characters are living in? What is the government of that place? What does it look like? So those are the things that you include in there. What is the mode of transportation used in that place, in that world? Also you need to consider the time frame. Is it the setting? Is it set in the past? Is it set in the future? Or does it combine the two time frames? Because mode of transportation is also critical. How do the characters travel? How the people in the story travel? It's really critical. Because if you merge the time frames, as an example, you could have a 1950 Ford or 1940 Ford, which is which is a hover car, which it floats around. It uses electricity. because the times are matching. There's a game called 1888 or 1988. I forgot. It's about vampires and lichens. It's perfect. So it's set in the past, but they had guns, they had teleportation, they had so many things. They had futuristic cars. So you need to think about that. But how do characters travel from point one to point B? That's what makes your story exciting. Because if you look at Black Panther, you've seen Black Panther. It's a fictional Africa, but that's technologically advanced, because technology, you have to think about it. So if there's technology in your story, how then does it impact the characters? It just can't be technology sitting there doing nothing. So you see that Wakanda is technologically advanced, and now they made their own suits. Later on, they healed Vision. The Vision was brought there to heal Vision. They made the Winter Soldier his robotic arm. They made Captain America his new shield. They're able to use nanite to make the Black Panther suit. Shuri later used it on her own. They had, have you seen the new one, the new Black Panther?
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah, see how they took Ironheart, Riri Williams. Riri Williams was skilled and she was a tech genius, but she could only go so far with her technology in her lab in America, in her warehouse. But once she got to Wakanda, because Wakanda is so technologically advanced, her suit and her visions came to life. So that's how technology is used in Wakanda. So now you can think about yours. If there's technology, how is it used? If there's the culture of the people, what is the African culture setting around the story? How does the culture influence the main character and the character's story? So that's how you make it exciting. So you make the readers also think and be able to say dot one there, dot two, they bring the dots together. So those just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to storytelling. But you have to make people fall in love with your character. And as you develop the main character, you also have to develop the villain, because life is about, the fight between good and evil. Life is about clashes. Life is not smooth sailing. So you can think about this thing. What influences my main character to be able to do this thing? Is there a backstory behind it? Has one of the elders said something to the main character that makes them want to go forward? Is the character maybe in poverty? Their dad is in prison, they want to escape, they want to get out. How do they get out? So you always have to make it exciting, but make sure that there's that flow in the story. It makes sense as people keep reading it. And like I'm saying, develop the villain as well. If there's a bad guy in your story, he should match the main character. People say Superman video games are hard to make because of his flight and this and this. Because you also have to think about the villain. Even the people that Superman fight, he never goes all out, because in most cases, they can't find a villain who will match him and make the story exciting. So you always have to develop the villain. If you've seen Batman vs Superman, people didn't want to watch the movie because they said, "Oh, we know how the story ends. Batman can beat Superman." And then they released a spoiler in one of the trailers. They showed Doomsday as the main villain. Like Doomsday was as powerful as Superman, because he's also from Krypton, right? So I always think about that. How do I make my hero? How do I give him a rival that makes sense, that makes the story worth telling? And also, you should always have growth in your stories. How do you grow the character? Always think about that. Don't have a character who doesn't grow but somehow win. I remember when I was watching Avengers Age of Ultron, I felt they just won because they're heroes, but there was no growth. There was no character growth for them to beat Ultron. That's what I thought.
So they were already developed characters.
Right?
They were already developed characters.
They were already
We
developed
already knew
characters.
their strengths and their weaknesses.
Yep.
Even not Vision, Ultron, he already
Yes.
knew everything about them. So there was nothing catchy.
Yes. Yep. But also, when you think of the villain, make it as exciting. You see how people loved Thanos because they could relate to
Mm.
his story. Like, oh man, this guy's bad. He's a bad guy, but his story makes sense. So in today's world, we are about developing stories that make sense. You just don't have a bad guy killing people for no reason and the hero coming to save the day for no reason. So there should be a reason. What makes the hero go there? What makes the villain be a bad guy? Maybe he's a good guy in his own eyes, you know.
Yeah, yes, yes. So I was still like struggling with that. How can I introduce this certain character? How do I introduce that one? And everything that influences their actions.
Yes,
Mm.
think about that and
Yes.
you'll go really far. Also, maybe just my last bit of advice before we end this amazing session is that when you finish a book, that's a chapter. When you finish your book, make sure people want to read the other one. Make sure people are left excited enough wondering, oh man, what's going on? So other people, what they normally do is they introduce characters at the end. They'll be like, okay, what character can we introduce here so that people want to see that character and how they'll relate to the main guy. So always think about that every time you finish a chapter, think about how do I end it. So you build a story chapter per chapter, but ultimately a big story that's sequential. But make sure you finish it on a high note every time and force someone to get the next copy and open the page.
Hmm. That's useful.
Yes,
That's
sir.
useful knowledge. Thank you.
All right, sir.
Just going to apply those. Yeah. Wow.
You should, you should, you should. So it's been a wonderful pleasure chatting with you. If you have any more questions, this is your time, sir.
Oh. Yeah, I think like everything. You covered everything just for
Okay.
this session. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, my
I'm just
guy.
going to I'm just going to practice everything that you taught me.
All right, sir. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you so much. See you next Thursday.
Until next Thursday.
All right.
Looking forward.
All right. Cheers. Have a good week. I can't wait to see the work, the improvement that you will bring by next
Mm,
Thursday.
yes, yes.
All right. And do maybe let me give you an assignment. Do a dynamic character. Do one character in a really exciting pose, full body with a spear, and make him exciting. Think about
Mm,
dynamic forms. Make him dynamic, not
mm.
rigid. Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll do
And,
that. And
and also
where? How
remove
can
the
I share?
Ra.
Because it won't be for like the book, so I'll have to share it with you during that time, or do I have to wait for the session to
No,
share it?
you can share it during the week, or you can do your main character from one of your personal books, do him and share him.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we can build him together as I look at him, analyze him, and say improve here and there. All
So
right.
I'm shying away from the rigid characters from now on.
No,
Thank you.
just do your own, build him up because it's an opportunity for you to work on him, make him more exciting, and also discover your art style. You know, art style is one important topic that we'll cover maybe next session in passing, but it's your own original style. But when people look at the work, they'll be like, oh man, this is Kamohelo. This is Kamohelo. Hey, there's this amazing comic book that I like from Essay. It's called Crazy. Have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen it.
I've seen it, but I do feel like Kwezi, they were suffering, especially early on, from making their characters rigid as well. But I love the design. I love the idea. I love where they're taking the characters. And I love the story behind. Even without having read the comic book, I can see, oh, this story is about this. The suit, the African, South African culture-based superhero suits that they have, phenomenal and original.
It's gonna take time for me to introduce everything that belongs to me. But yeah, thank you.
All right, sir.
Because like I'm learning so much from these classes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm glad you appreciate the classes.
Yes.
All right. Now have a beautiful week ahead.
Yeah, you too, sir. Thanks,
Peace.
sir.
Sure.